Can you tell us about the time in your life when you told your dad you would never own a business, you would always be working for someone?
Yeah.
An employee.
Never in a million years did I think I would produce a movie, because that meant opening up an LLC. And there's like, that's just not happening. Because growing up, seeing him have to ask people for money when he was owed money, you know, and he's a real man, you know, my dad, like a man's man, and to have to knock on that door, you know, and it's like, hey, Frank, you think you could pay me what you owe me today? You know, I'll have it next week, yada, 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 and come back next week. To see a man go through that, especially your dad, and not just like grab someone by the throat and knock him out, because he knew that if he did that, which he more than capable could have, my old man, but he chose family over that. I was like, I'm never going to be in a position where I have to ask somebody for money. I just want to be the employee, seeing what it was to be a business owner and all the stresses and everything that they deal with. I'd rather just be the employee, do my work, my 8 hours, take my breaks, and get my paycheck on Friday, and not have to deal with anything. Such a simple life, comparably. And nobody would ever know that unless they grew up in a family business or was just there firsthand with someone that owned a business to really see it. The last thing I ever wanted to do was make a movie. The last thing I ever wanted to do was make a movie. But creatively, I was busting at the seams too. So I was like this. And I think it came to one of those decisions where I was like, well, if I can, it was twofold. If I can continue to express myself creatively through this, in this industry, I have to create a movie, because I'm giving what I have as writing a story, telling the story, setting up the foundation, producing and making that story possible, and then obviously playing the role, which tickles me the most, you know? And in order to do that, I'd have to create an LLC. Or I just live the life of an actor, audition, see what happens, yada yada. And like I said, the life of an actor it just wasn't enough. Even though I was doing good. From the outside looking in as a working actor, booking roles, booking TV, you know, you hear from the outside like, oh, hey, this and that, you know, good job, up, up, up. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear that. But internally, I was screaming. So I bit the bullet and I was like, well, I'll learn this. And I think through growing up and see my old man go through that, I had severe mental blocks about what it was to own an LLC. Taxes, like was not my world, you know what I mean? I was a fly-by-night kid, you know, and that was the last thing I ever wanted to learn about. So it's funny, these little internal battles you have, that was difficult for me. Beyond difficult. I spent hours and hours and hours on YouTube and talking to people, calling people, asking questions, friends of mine that own businesses, to learn what it was to own it. And then when I realized that it wasn't that big of a deal at all, but I just had this huge mental block against it. You know what I mean? But then when I learned it, the smart take from the strong, I said, okay, now I got it. And that enabled me to getting past that personal hurdle, that personal obstacle, is what enabled me to kind of level up. And I guess go take the path that I've been on, you know, and it let me realize, you know, what I have to offer.
And you said going to AFM was such an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Did that also play into some of this, because you realize now I'm becoming a business owner and now I'm producing, quote unquote, a product that needs to be sold to foreign territories?
Yeah.
And is this really who I am?
Well, I don't give into it though. I don't look at what I do as a product. I don't look at it as content. I never will. They can go sell it however they want. Twice. Didn't do it. They could sell it however they want. But to me, it's selling art. So I kind of look at it like this, and there's a couple things, if you don't mind me getting into, that I made mistakes coming up. Honest mistakes. I just didn't know any better. And when it affects your pocket and it affects time, energy, and money, it's like you got to learn from it or you got to bail. And there's no way I was bailing out of this. So when a movie is made, most filmmakers make the movie they want. That's not, in my opinion, the right way to go about it. if you are setting your movie up to succeed. For me, and I only speak from my experience of what worked and what didn't work, is that you have to kind of look at it like painting in the numbers. Remember that when you're a little kid? 1 is red, 2 is orange, 3 is blue. That's your genre. And if you choose the appropriate genre that sells domestically and foreign, that's your palette to work from. There's certain things you have to, there's certain colors you have to use within that palette in order for the people that sell your art to recognize it and be able to sell it better. If you deny that, you're doing yourself, your movie, your investors, everyone involved, a huge disservice. And you literally could be setting yourself up for failure. Time and time and time and time again. The lack of doing that is what makes people say, oh, movies are a bad investment. It's not the movie. The movie is not a bad investment. It's the person making it. That's the bad investment. So when I hear that stuff about movies are bad investments, I just want to smack somebody because I'm like, no, it's not. You just got burned because you put money into the wrong person, you know? So if you look at it like paint by the numbers, that's your genre. And within that genre, there's certain selling points you have to hit. Now, you have your colors. You could paint the world you want. That's where you're able to be creative. But just do it in their palette. It's a little give and take. You may not be able to make the movie that you just want and you just picture and you're just free associating when you're writing and drawing pictures of elephants and rainbows and this and that. Like, I get it. I want to too. Matter of fact, I did. Never doing it again because now I just know too much. So for me, that would be a naive move. And I would never do that if I was to accept money from somebody, ever in a million years. I'm the kind of guy, if I owe somebody $5 from the night before, like it's driving me nuts until I pay him back. So to take somebody's money to make a movie, yeah, you bet your butt I'm making the right choices for all reasons said, you know? So if you stack your film appropriately and you essentially, for lack of better words, follow the system, but you are as creative as possible within that, you will ensure success. But you got to follow the rules a little bit, which I'm kind of okay with because, like we were saying before, Hollywood's been in business for a long time. There's a Hollywood system that's been in place for a long time. When you start deviating, which I think was kind of cool in the 90s because independent film was like sought out. That's what I came up with, like that grit, that dirty indie. I loved it. I still do. But I won't make it now. Even though I love it here, I can't make what I want to make the way I want to make it because I know it doesn't have a place to sell, you know? So if you follow the system and you do it the right way, all that work, all that effort, it will go. And then ultimately you will be in business because you're following the way it's supposed to be. Once you start working against it, once you start making the movie that you want, you're doing what you want, good luck, you know? It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the ultimate goal. If you want to do that and you don't want to make money and you don't want to make your investors money back and you don't want to have people see your work, which is just as much of a driving force for me as it is about the business side. I can't move people with my work as an actor if they don't see the movie. So I have to think as a producer so people will see the movie so I can move people as an actor. The producer hires everyone. So if you're writing, directing, producing, acting, which is what I've been doing every now and then, the producer hat hires the actor, Kevin hires the actor, director, or Kevin the director, and hires Kevin the writer. That's the producer hat. That's thinking of the end before you start. That's worked for me. It's working. It's stepping up. My next project's in October. I was already told by a sales rep who wanted to come on board that the budget that we're using, she was kind of flabbergasted by it, but she's like, you're gonna do very well on it. So it's good to know that before we even make the movie because we start filming in October. Now, I mean, that's a position I wish I was in 10 years ago, you know, but it took a few movies to get there and here I am. So it'd be really great if people took my advice and don't make my mistakes and just started there because that stuff takes years off your life, man, you know, and it puts you in bad positions and you possibly can lose people money and you can't get time back. And, you know, a broken spirit that's a rough thing to bounce back from, you know, and I've been there several times. So now, yes, I see how it works. I get it, plain as day, not foggy at all. I'm like, okay, this is the story I want to tell. Can I tell it in a way so it fits in this parameter? Yeah, cool, it's a go. I'll start writing. I'll figure it out. And that's how I approach it.
And if an investor is listening, how will they know the difference between a bad film versus a bad producer? You said you're not, it's usually not the film that's bad, it's sort of the person behind the film.
Yeah.
How can they decipher that?
It's tough. I mean, you know, there is a term called a smart investor. You know, it's a real term, you know, for obvious reasons. There's a lot of bad movies that I know of that made a lot of money. They're just bad movies. Some are not even bad. They're just like, you know, made a lot of money. Some of the most amazing movies I've seen that I've remembered through 20 years of being in this business that have affected me and touched me so deeply that it inspired my work as an actor, inspired my work as a writer, like trying to achieve what they did. Nobody will ever hear about these movies, ever. Ever. Gone. Just gone. Whatever film festivals they won back in 2001 and this and that, because they're mid-level festivals and no one cares about. Anything that's ever been done with these projects, I've seen some of the most amazing, amazing pieces of life, and no one will ever have the chance to be moved by them because the business behind the movie was not constructed the right way to take that art and go like this, you know? It's crushing. I've been there. You know, there was one film I made that I wrote the story for because it was about my life. And I wrote the story for it the first month I was in Baghdad when I got sent to war, before stuff started getting pretty crazy. The first month was slow over there. So I filled up a journal. Man, there was smoke coming from that pen. It was my life. It was basically about essentially how a gang, an organization, could begin today, which was 2008, when all the stuff at Wall Street was going on and everything. And it was, you know, strife, need for money, and how a blue-collar family could transition and reject their morality and their morals to make money and support their family. How a gang could start. It was called Blue Collar Boys. Movie won a few festivals. It went around, I think, Italy, Canada, US. Everyone that saw that film really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It struck a nerve. That movie was not constructed the right way. Even though the movie came out, you know, it was the first time I stepped into that. It was a loss for everybody, unfortunately. Luckily, it was my own money that I lost and the dude that directed it, because we put the money into it. Man, I'd feel so guilty if other people put money into that and I couldn't get it back. I'd feel so guilty I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So I'd rather take the hit than have someone else do it on my behalf, you know? If that movie followed suit a little better and we played the cards right, knew what the selling points were and capitalized on that, my story still could have been told, just angled differently. That's it. Decisions would have changed things. And now there's this piece of art, this beautiful piece of art that my heart is connected to, that's out there. I don't even know where it is. I don't even know if it's on Apple right now, or I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think that's the bulk of most filmmakers. Usually it's a one and done when they start, or two, and they're like, you know what, I'm out, you know? It just doesn't make sense. But I just stayed in it long enough and wouldn't give in until I understood it and knew it, you know? I couldn't just be strong and survive it. I had to be smart and get on top of it. So that's just kind of what made it go.